Sandra Burrell is probably one of the most knowledgeable people that I've talked to about the whole area of CCSVI. She runs a wonderful Facebook page which provides all kinds of information. And in fact, one of the bits of information that I saw on it today was that the Manitoba government has committed $5 million to team up with the Saskatchewan government and do research in the procedure known as, in their documentation, the liberation treatment. So I think it said that they believe that their studies will be underway before the end of this year, which is pretty quick considering how long it takes to get a medical study underway. Having said all that and interjected myself into the panel, I'll introduce you to Sandra Burrell.
Thanks, Ernie. Is this close enough for the mic? And just following up on that a little bit, Ernie, you know, my basis is if people are getting treated in Canada, I don't care if they're in clinical trials or it's in the public system, as long as we're rolling people through the treatment, it doesn't matter. Like, let's get the doctors working and doing what they do best. And, you know, quit messing around with the semantics of are you in a trial or are you not in a trial. Because the panel here, you know, some of us were involved in research, and as we go forward with this, we are seeing that research needs to be done and must be done, but the train is rolling and it's not stopping for all these clinical trials to get done first. Okay, when I last spoke with some of you, it was in last August, and I was 4 weeks after my first treatment. And I had noted that I had not taken any of my spasm medication. I used to get terrible bowel spasms, such that 2 hours after I would eat, I would hit the dicyclomine, otherwise I would be doubled over with a bowel spasm. I used to get spasms in my quad muscles in both legs, 5 or 6 hours a day. Again, very painful. Acupuncture twice a month, trying to relieve it. And I hadn't taken any of those medications 4 weeks after my first treatment. I still have not taken any medications because those symptoms are not there. Oh, and I also went off Rubin. But anyway, the spasms were the biggest thing for me that have endured as being the legacy of that first treatment in July. I realize now that the choking I had, and hands up anybody who chokes on their own spit, that terrifying feeling when you wake up in the night of choking on your own spit, that happened to me in about 2002, 2003, gradually worsened so that I was choking about 5 times a day on all sorts of types of particles of food. And the doctors said, well, the good news is it's only MS. You know, you don't have a throat tumor or something. But what they didn't tell me is that that put me at extreme risk for aspiration pneumonia as I breathed in those little food particles. And as we know, that's a leading cause of death with persons with MS. And I haven't choked once since July 7th, 2010. And again, I was choking 5 times a day. I did, however, do some very silly things in my rehab. I took that angio bump, as I call it, that you get of that lovely burst of energy and mobility, and I thought I was doing the right thing. I continued to go to rehab down at the MS clinic. Wendy taught me how to try to stop walking like a penguin and start evening it out by pushing up evenly with 2 quad muscles when you stand up from a chair rather than leaning on the desk and going over sideways to stand up. And I really do believe that all that rehab did even out my stride a lot and did help me. However, the foolish things I did I ended up in injuries. I started pruning, and those of you who are online and follow me have seen my pruning video, where I show you that the tree that I was pruning one day, and I hadn't gardened in probably 6 years, and I decided to go pruning, and I ended up ripping a pelvic muscle and spending 2.5 weeks on my back in pain. And after that, the first day I was mobile again, I felt spasms in my legs. And they weren't bad, but they were there. And it frightened me enough that I went early for my 3-month scan. I'm a firm believer in getting follow-up scans. And so I went for an ultrasound, and it showed that my left jugular wasn't flowing. And I went, well, hey, you know, I still have benefit, but one vein isn't flowing. So I thought about it, and I decided to go for a retreatment. And I went down February 17th of this year, down into the US for a retreatment. And they actually treated all 3 veins again. The left jugular was shut down, but this is important. The angioplasty had worked. It had taken out the valve, it had removed the valve. What had closed the vein down was the scarring following the angioplasty. And this is where Dr. Code comes in, because there are things you can do dietary-wise, like I think Betty was saying, the anti-inflammatory diets that you can follow that will minimize scarring after the fact. And the newest treatment best practices are to get that inflammation down quickly and to minimize the risk of scarring. So my vein closed down, not because of restenosis from a natural cause, if you like. It was from the scar that the angio footprint had left. Had I taken better care of myself with diet, that scarring perhaps wouldn't have happened and that vein would have stayed open. On the right-hand side, the initial angio hadn't completely removed the valve, so they just took the valve out. With the second angio, and with the second treatment in my azygos, I had been ballooned 5 times in my azygos. They had tried to open it over a longer stretch of 5 balloons. And this next time, a stent was placed there. My azygos vein is being compressed between my heart and my spinal column, and so it's really a physical thing. It's just being pinched in there like carpal tunnel. So they put a stent in there, 3.5 inches long, to make sure that vein stays open. So in terms of rehab, and I injured myself the second time, and there's a video of this online as well, by putting on high heels after my second treatment and parading around the hotel room, and I sprained my ankle. Although you do get this wonderful burst, or at least I did, of energy and just this feeling of relief and wow, this new life is sitting there for the waiting, I do urge you to be cautious and that energy, use it for healing as much as possible, but do enjoy any benefit it gives you, because in this disease, having any improvement is a gift, because we're just not used to having things get better. And in this case, they can truly go in the opposite direction. So thanks very much.
Thanks.